What's up guys, this is Ray, welcome to Ancient Films, and I'm here with this month's Patreon sponsored movie review. And the movie we'll be talking about is the 2019 Japanese movie, Kingdom. Now keep in mind, this isn't the Korean drama which you can watch on Netflix. This is the Japanese movie, which is an adaptation of an anime manga originally created by Hara Yasuhisa. And this live action adaptation is directed by Sato Shinsuke, whom I consider the director to make some of the best live action adaptations which are not named Rurouni Kenshin, and to have come out in the past, I don't know, 5, nearly 10 years. I think every Sato Shinsuke movie that's come out is mostly, if not all, action movies, and they're always enjoyable. There's always something to enjoy about them. So every time Sato Shinsuke releases a new movie, I definitely have to go and check them out. And this movie stars Yamazaki Kento, Yoshizawa Ryo, and Hashimoto Kanna. And for those who are asking, I'm going to say this right off the bat, I watched this in the movie theater. So unfortunately, if you try to ask me where I can find this online, I'm just going to tell you, well, sorry, you can't. You can only watch in the movie theater right now. So if you're in Japan at the moment, definitely check out the movie. Also, another disclaimer is that, because I haven't read the manga or seen the anime, I don't know if they actually refer to these characters by their Chinese names or their Japanese names. Just because this story takes place in China during the Qin Dynasty, or during the Warring States period. And so these characters are meant to be Chinese, not Japanese. They're all played by Japanese actors, but the story and the characters are contained within China. So that's an interesting case, I think, about this movie, is that with the story, it focuses on two orphan boys. There's Shin, played by Yamazaki Kento, and there's Hyo, played by Yoshizawa Ryo. They're slaves who are orphans, and then they meet under this one master, and they become best friends, basically strong. They develop a bond stronger than brothers, and they go on and actually train to be fighters with each other. They make like wooden swords, and they just train every day, because they say, as a slave, a child of a slave is going to be a slave, but the only way out of it is through your sword. So they constantly train and build up their fighting skills, and hoping one day that they can be something more. But one chance encounter with Shogun-kun, who's like a general in the Imperial Army, takes Hyo away and has him live in the Imperial Palace. But then one day, not soon after, he comes back, nearly dying, and he tells Shin, basically he gives Shin this last request. Soon afterwards, Hyo dies. Hyo passes away. But then once Shin goes to this neighboring town, he finds another person who looks exactly like Hyo. Of course, he's also played by Yoshizawa Ryo. And this character is named King Eisei, who happens to be the king of China, or at least he was the king of China. He kind of gets ousted in this coup, but he aims to gain back his power. But then he also reveals to Shin that Hyo is actually his body double, in case happens to be anything that puts Eisei in danger. And this starts this kind of rocky relationship and adventure between Eisei and Shin. Obviously Shin hates Eisei for everything he's put Hyo through, because Hyo was his boy, and it ended up getting him killed. But Shin also recognizes how much Eisei is to the country, so he vows to help him regain his power and help him unify China. And from what I understand, Eisei is based off of an actual true person in China's history, Emperor Shi Huangdi, who was the first emperor of China, and that he's the one who kickstarted the Qin Dynasty, which is where China got the name from. But this is a fictionalized account of Chinese history, just to make it more manga-ish and just more fun. Like, Shin is a totally fictional character. When it comes to the positives of Kingdom, well, there's a lot. I feel like with Sato Shinsuke, the more live action movies he produces or he directs, he progressively gets a bigger and bigger budget, and you can definitely tell that about this movie. The production quality is amazing. Like, everything from the set designs. I think it was actually filmed on location in China too. The set designs, the costume designs are amazing. Like, just it makes everything look. I don't know how accurate it is to actual, to old Chinese armor and what people wore back then, but the way everything looks like in this movie is fantastic. You can definitely tell it was lifted straight from a manga. I also like the variety of characters that feature in this movie. It's the kind of stuff you can expect from a manga. Like, I expect this kind of variety of characters to pop in and out of the story. Starting with the two leads, Shin, played by Yamazaki Kento, and Heisei, played by Yoshizawa Ryo. Like, their performances were great. I definitely liked interaction between them, the relationship and the chemistry, the way they bounce back and forth between each other. Although I have to say, as kind of a not a negative, but just kind of something I'm about is that Shin is your typical shonen manga hero. I don't know if Kingdom is actually a shonen manga, but he has the same tropes as a typical shonen manga hero in the sense that he's an underdog. He comes from almost nothing. Pretty much humble beginnings, and he works his way up, and he's pretty stubborn and loud, and kind of not really doesn't really take into account his surroundings, just kind of does what he does. But like I said, it's not necessarily a negative, it's just something I'm about. And, Heisei is kind of like the cold, cool character, probably the Eiga-Man of the story. And, he's okay too in that regard. But, there's something about these two characters and the way they're presented in this movie that just still make them likable. Other performers in this movie, like Hashimoto Kanna was fine. She kind of balanced out the masculinity that was present in the story. And then you had Hongo Kanata as the bad guy. I think he plays a great bad guy because he has that natural kind of squirmy face, if you will. Granted, he's the kind of villain, it's kind of a plus and minus. Like his character is one of those dudes that kind of is so weak, can't really do anything for himself. He just sends everyone to do all his bidding. But then when actually confronted in a physical engagement, he can't really do anything. But other performers in this movie, like Osawa Takao, I think he gained a bit of weight. I don't know, he's chubbier from the last time I saw him, but he plays a really cool character. Oki, I think, was the name of his character, and you can tell you didn't do a lot with his character in this movie, but I assume if they ever continue the story and make a sequel, he'll play a big role in the next installment. And this movie also features Nagasawa Masami, and I think they did something interesting with her. They turned her into an action star, which I'll get a little more into later, but her character is pretty cool. But I think the biggest pop for me was seeing Sakaguchi Taku. I'm a huge Taku fan. I love all his movies. He has a really distinct style when it comes to his action, and then just seeing him pop up in this movie and also deliver that kind of quality action, especially with him wielding a sword. I'm like, when he first popped in, I was like, man, okay, I know I'm all in for this movie because Taka's here. That's all I needed. And that being said, the action in this movie was great. I think this is kind of like an interpretation of, Japan doing a Chinese style wuxia movie. And they did pretty well at replicating the kind of action you see in a wuxia movie. And I'm not sure who the choreographer is for the action, or who the action director was, but I think they did a really good job with not only making it seem like a wuxia movie, but also making you feel like it's definitely from a manga. Because characters have these weapons that are really, fantastical, and the choreography where they're flying around, they do a lot of wire work in this movie too. That combined with a lot of the characters for some reason just being kind of deformed. Like you have, you can, like I said, this is a manga. This is not based on historical events whatsoever. So there are a lot of these characters who, they look monstrous, and of course they're villains. And even one dude who looks like a total Muppet, looks like something out of, you remember that old, the movie Labyrinth? There's a dude who looks like the big hairy beast one of the good guys in Labyrinth. But he's one of the bad guys here. And at first, when he popped on screen, I was like, okay, he looks kind of like a Muppet. But then they kind of make him work in this movie. So with the action choreography and also the special effects that enhance the action, I think everything visually worked out all well. And with the action comes really excellent stunt work. Like I said earlier, Nagasawa Masami, they made her look like a legit action star. And I think it's thanks to the stunt workers who acted around her. I'm not sure how much of the action choreography she was performing herself, if any at all. But all the stunt workers, they did very well in making sure everyone looked like a legit action star. And this movie did a great job as what any kind of manga movie of this type of genre does, and it just gets you hyped up and gets you energized. I think the final, I don't know how long, like 20, 30 minutes was just a straight war scene, and it was entertaining as all hell. It was fantastic to watch. And when it comes to the negatives of the movie, like I mentioned earlier, there's a whole variety of characters that get featured in this story, but this movie does that thing where you try to squeeze a whole big giant story arc, I'm pretty sure, which encompasses a few volumes of manga into a 2-hour movie. For the most part, this movie does well at adapting that kind of situation. However, I'm pretty sure with the amount of characters that they go through, I'm pretty sure a lot of them were a lot more fleshed out in the source material. And they kind of pop in and out as kind of like level 1 battles, a level 2 battle, level 3 battle, the progression that Shin and the main characters have to just go through. And it's okay if you're just looking for something that's a pure visual blockbuster. That's fine. But if you're looking for something where like you got your favorite characters and you want them as fleshed out as they probably were in the source material, you may not get that. And while I mentioned earlier that the choreography and the action were great, as a negative, I have to say the camera work could have been a lot better. Like there are a lot of times when you can kind of tell what's going on, but then it could have just used a master shot, just a master two shot of the choreography happening, and just having the viewer just seeing everything while it's going on rather than obscured angles or wild camera chases. I think this movie did more of that kind of style of camera work than just having a master shot of just capturing everything all at once. Or I don't know, maybe I'm just comparing it to how the kind of Chinese and Hong Kong action cinema I'm used to seeing, and comparing it with this movie. And for the most part, while this movie replicates the kind of action that's in Chinese and Hong Kong movies, this movie doesn't replicate the camera work. But overall, what do I have to say about Kingdom? It's a fun movie to watch. I think with any Sato Shinsuke movie, his live action adaptations are some of the best. And you can expect just an epic blockbuster with this movie. I think more so than any of his previous movies. I think just comparing his previous works, this is probably the biggest in scale as far as the amount of people working on this movie, working on the sets, involved in the action. Like if you thought Bleach and Inuyashiki had some pretty good action, even Gantz, this one just ups the ante a lot more. You can tell there are dozens, if not hundreds, of stunt workers working on this movie, and also that, not only that, but the production design, everything was great S level, I gotta say. And like I said, I haven't read any of the manga or watched any of the anime, so I'm not sure how accurately the characters were portrayed on screen, so don't ding me on that. But I can tell you that the characters themselves were all like entertaining, they were all intriguing, and the way everything kind of wrapped up, it definitely made me interested in checking out the anime manga. I've seen the anime pop up on Netflix not too long ago. Well, rather, I just started noticing it pop up not too long ago. And now I want to check it out because of this movie. And I also want to see a follow-up because there are a few characters which were introduced who had little to nothing to do with the overall story. They kind of just pop in and out as glorified cameos. And I'm pretty sure if they could make a sequel, these characters will have a more predominant role. Because as I mentioned earlier, Eisei is based off of the real character Shi Huangdi, who ends up unifying China, and that's kind of the same with Eisei's endgame, if you will. He aims to unify China. He doesn't end the movie unifying China. He kind of, I don't want to say where it ends, but he has a long way to go before he gets to that step. And this movie also features a theme song sung by one of my favorite Japanese rock bands at the moment, One Ok Rock, Wasted Nights. Check it out on YouTube. You could probably find the music on YouTube. It's anything that they put out, I enjoy. And if any of their music is attached to any movie, that's another positive for me. But yes, those are my thoughts on Kingdom. What did you guys think, or what kind of questions did you guys have? Let me know in the comment section below. If you enjoyed this video, please leave a like, and if you're new to my channel, please subscribe. And if you really dig my content, please know you can support H Films via Patreon from as little as $1, same as the lovely folks who helped me out watch this movie in the theater this month. And yeah, you'll see all my patrons' names pop up right after I give this spiel. But yes, as always, everyone, thank you so much for watching. Hope to catch you all again in the next video. Take it easy.